Hello and welcome to my quiz on the Plantagenets, the dynasty that ruled medieval England for over 300 years. There will be 7 questions. I'll ask one question at a time, pause for 10 seconds to allow viewers to think about their answer, though of course you can pause the video also, before I reveal the answer on the next slide with a brief explanation. Let's start. Question 1. In 1478, who was allegedly executed in a barrel of wine at the Tower of London? Was it A. Richard of Gloucester, B. Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick, C. Henry VI, or D. George, Duke of Clarence? The answer is D. George, Duke of Clarence. George was the troublesome brother of Edward IV and Richard, Duke of Gloucester, later Richard III. George had caused Edward huge problems during the Wars of the Roses, as he switched all too frequently from siding with the king to plotting against him. George became particularly alienated from Edward after the king allowed Richard to marry Anne Neville, a daughter of the now dead Earl of Warwick. George had been married to Anne's sister Isabel, and his inheritance of Warwick's estates were now massively undermined. George's and Edward's relationship went downhill and was now irreparable. This led to George's execution in 1478, according to legend, in a barrel of Malmsey wine. Question 2. Henry the Young King was the son and heir of which King of England? Was it A. Henry II, B. King John, C. Edward III, or D. Henry IV? The answer is A. Henry II. The young king was born in 1155, the second son of Henry II and Eleanor of Aquitaine. With the firstborn son dying young, the young king became his father's heir, and in 1170 he was crowned in recognition of his status. The young king, however, wielded little to no power, and, along with his brothers, soon became increasingly frustrated. Henry II's relationship with his sons became toxic as they revolted against his tight grip on power. The young king died in 1183, aged only 28. The young king had wished to make amends with his father before he died, but the trust between the two had been left too badly broken, and no reconciliation happened. Question 3. How old was Henry III when he became king in 1216? Was he A. 9, B. 18, C. 27, or D. 36? The answer is A. 9. Henry was just 9 years old when he became king. His father, King John, had left the country in chaos, as the French prince Louis, later King Louis VIII of France, attempted to take the English crown. Louis continued his quest even after John's death, and the innocent Henry was now reliant on key men around him to keep him on the throne. Question 4. Look at the image that you can see on your screen now. Who does this tomb effigy belong to? Is it A. Hubert de Burgh, B. William Marshall, C. Edmund Crouchback, or D. Edward the Black Prince? The answer is B. William Marshall. The effigy can be found at Temple Church, London, and it belongs to arguably the greatest knight of the Middle Ages. William Marshall lived for 72 years and saved the English crown from disaster time and again. As a warrior, he was almost unmatched in skill, and it's said that he was the only man ever to be feared by Richard the Lionheart. Question 5. Joan of Navarre was the queen of which king of England? Was it A. Henry IV, B. Henry V, C. Henry VI, or D. Edward IV? The answer is A. Henry IV. Joan was Henry's second wife after Mary de Bohun, the latter of whom was the mother of Henry's successor, Henry V. Joan is buried next to Henry at Canterbury Cathedral. Question 6. Which of these men was not a leader of the Peasants' Revolt of 1381? Was it A. Wat Tyler, B. Jack Straw, C. John Bull, or D. Jack Cade? The answer is D. Jack Cade. Jack Cade led his own rebellion in 1450 during the reign of Henry VI as England headed towards both defeat in the Hundred Years' War and, at home, a civil war that would become known as the Wars of the Roses. Question 7. Look at the image on your screen. This image is a depiction of which woman from the 14th century? A. Philippa of Hainault, B. Joan of Kent, C. Mary de Bohun, or D. Anne of Bohemia? The answer is B. Joan of Kent. Joan was the wife of Edward the Black Prince, one of the great warriors of his age, and the son and heir of King Edward III. Before marrying the Black Prince, Joan had been married twice before. With the Black Prince, Joan had two sons, one who died young, and the other who became King Richard II in 1377.